So you experienced a spiritual awakening, and alongside that, the lovely dark night of the soul. And as miserable as that period was because you felt like your life was put on pause, meanwhile, everybody else seemed to go on with their life as if nothing had changed, you thought you would never come out of that phase. But sure enough, you did, and things started moving again. But after some time, you felt like your life was put on pause again, and you couldn't seem to understand why this cycle was repeating for you. You thought you had already experienced your spiritual awakening. You thought you had already experienced the dark night of the soul. So why then is your life looping you back into this sacred pause? Possibly more than once, possibly more than twice, possibly even more than 3 times. What is going on? Why do you keep experiencing this sacred pause and not really understanding when you'll get to see the end of it? So in this video, I really want to talk about the repeating dark nights of the soul that you keep going through. The 3 key reasons why this really shows up for you, what this really means, and how you can really overcome it to finally complete your full awakening. Now, one of the key reasons why you keep experiencing a repeating dark night of the soul is simply because there is something within you that is still resisting the shift and the changes that are needed in order for you to complete this transformation. Remember that this journey is one where you shift from survival into wholeness. And what that basically means is that there's a lot of layers of yours that you need to shed in order to complete this transformation. Think of a caterpillar almost turning into a butterfly. Now, if the caterpillar refuses to undergo the transformation where it needs to dissolve in order to finally become that butterfly, then it cannot complete its transformation. And so if you keep clinging on to that old way of being, those old beliefs, those old thinking patterns, coping mechanisms, relationships that are holding down your frequency, holding down your energetic transformation, then you will not be able to level up and move forward on this journey. So every time that, the sacred pause comes forward, it is asking you to really take a look at what needs to shift on your journey. And sometimes you might actually be aware of what needs to change, but are resisting to actually make those changes. And so this pattern will continue to repeat for you until and unless you are finally ready to make that shift. And when you finally make your surrendering on this journey greater than your resistance. Now, a second reason why you may actually experience a repeating dark night of the soul is simply because, that one single pause, as much as we'd like a breakthrough to really happen within that one pause, you have lifetimes and lifetimes of karmic patterns and layering that needs to be let go of. And therefore, that single pause is just not enough for you to really get through it in that one shot. And so what ends up happening is that, really for your own benefit, depending on how much unlayering you need to get rid of, you go through multiple phases and multiple cycles of this dark night of the soul and that sacred pause. It's almost for you to really have a bit of a break in between before you go back to do more inner work, more healing that is needed. You have lifetimes and lifetimes of buildup that you really need to work through. And therefore, working through it in this single lifetime can take a little bit of time. And depending on each person's individual, buildup that you've really got, that you've got to unlayer during this process, it can take some time. And so what you want to take a look at, and the way that you want to see this pause, is not as something negative, but something that's really working in favor of you. Sometimes there's sickness associated with these pauses. And so just imagine if you were hit with all of that in one shot. It would be a lot to take on. Would be really overwhelmed. And therefore, these pauses, multiple pauses over, a period of time is really to help you really make it through it successfully. Now, the third reason why you may keep experiencing that repetitive dark night of the soul is simply because there is a lesson or multiple lessons that still need to be integrated and embodied spiritually. Now, you may very well understand what that lesson is because it continues to show up in your life. However, the question you want to ask yourself is, what have I learned in this situation? Have I, responded to the situation from a different sense of awareness? Or am I still reacting to that same situation over and over with that same response? Because until you can shift this understanding and really embody that lesson spiritually, it will continue to show up and you may be at risk of experiencing yet another pause. To give you that time, to give you that reflection, to give you that sense of awareness that you're going to need to integrate this lesson. Think of when you go to school. How do you level up from one grade to the next? It's not simply by, repeating what's in a textbook. Often, the teacher will teach you, you will understand what's in the textbook, but in order to really demonstrate that you have a good understanding of what you've learned, you need to go through some form of testing to demonstrate what you know. This is the same sort of thing with your awakening. You will see that lesson show up again and again, and the way that you pass that test is through your embodiment of that lesson, that shift in how you approach the situation or that repeating lesson that keeps coming back up is how you'll be able to level up and graduate to the next level. So just remember, if you feel like life has put you on pause again, instead of thinking about the delay this is causing you, think about this time period as something that is helping you prepare for your next level up. And so as you are suspended in time during your sacred pause, really think about what it is that needs to shift so that you can really complete your transformation. Is it something that needs to leave your life? Is it something that still needs to heal within you? Is there something you need to understand better? Really use this time to your own benefit, understanding that it is really working for you and not against you. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope this was helpful. God bless.